Oh, well, I'm not going to say too much because I really don't have a voice left. I've been sick for 2 weeks. But what I do want to say is thank you all for coming, and it's very much appreciated because we are trying to save a life here, and we're doing the best we can. We're on this mission to help your kids and all the kids in our community because I don't want another family to go through what I've gone through because I've lost my son. And he was 19, and it'll be 2 years. January 8th was 2 years ago. And he left behind a 17-year-old brother. And it's devastating. So I'm here to introduce Overtaken, show you the documentary. Watch it with your kids, please, and talk to them about the drug problem. And just to stay away from kids who are taking pills or smoking pot because marijuana is a gateway drug and you will see that in the film. But I also want to stress that if any of you parents or have parents that are taking pills, to please put them away, lock them up, hide them from your kids because you never know. Not my case, but I'm finding out a lot of cases that is where the kids are getting them from their own medicine cabinet or from a friend's medicine cabinet, and parents wouldn't even know that they're missing. So please hide your pills. Here's Christine. Thank you.
Thank you for being here tonight. We're really grateful to have such a nice turnout. We have some great guest speakers. One of the young ladies who's in the film who actually went to this school. And we have Dr. Robert Winokur, who's the medical director of Mission Hospital, who will be here to answer questions for you as well. A lot of people aren't aware that Orange County is number 2 in the nation for fatal overdoses in the ages 15 to 24. We've had a huge outbreak of fatal overdoses in the last 3 years, and our goal is to educate high school, and my personal goal is really to get into middle school. I have an 8th grader here. I have 4 kids that have gone through this school. And I really think right now in junior high is when their mind is very open to the idea of choosing their friends wisely and how important the choices they are making can impact their lives. So take a moment, watch the film. We also offer, at any donation you can afford, $1 to whatever. We have a copy of them in the back if you want to take it home and view it with your children. We also, if you need any assistance or help or have questions about getting a child help who maybe already is in danger, you can come talk to us. We'll give you our personal cell phone numbers. We have a lot of resources for that as well. So enjoy the film, and we'll take your questions after. Andrea went to this school. She was in the film, has a lovely family, and as you heard, quite an academic career. So we kind of want to break the myth about this can't happen to good families. And Dr. Winokur is, of course, on the front lines in the emergency room, and he has some pretty startling statistics himself. In the last year, from October 2010 to October 2011, Mission Hospital saw 312 overdoses in the age group 15 to 24. It's often not discussed for some reason in our press. We had 4 fatal overdoses in South Orange County over the holiday break. None of those were reported in the news at all. So this is why we're trying to spread awareness to parents and kids. So any questions or anything they're here to answer?
I'll just make some comments. Every time I see this film, which I've seen quite a few times, I notice different things. The beginning of this film seems like it's a very beautiful, wonderful place to live. It's very charming, and there's boats, and there are people flying kites, and la-di-da. And how do people in that type of environment want to escape that type of environment? That's one of the things I see. And then the film switches over to some fairly high-powered individuals who are driven. They're driven either by playing football, they're driven by playing soccer, they're on the a wrestling team, and a variety of sort of high intensity activities. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that people do this for different reasons. Some people will take drugs because it makes them feel good and it allows them to escape from whatever life they're at. And some people do it because they're very stressed out and they're very anxious and they don't know where to turn and they get mixed up with the wrong group of people, the wrong group of friends, and they end up down that pathway. Both those pathways meet at a similar location. But once you start on that pathway, as it was said in the film, these drugs are unique drugs because they cause addiction. And addiction is defined physiologically by the fact that when you stop the drug, your body goes through different types of activity. It just don't wake up the next day feeling fine. Opiate withdrawal, when you stop it, you go through very, very intense body pains. You go through the inability to sleep. Your skin gets looks like a cold turkey. That's why it's called going cold turkey, because the little hair follicles stand up and the skin gets that way. You have diarrhea and you feel like terrible. And so the only way to prevent that is to use one drug. So most people who have gone through opioid withdrawal realize that the only way to treat that is to do more drugs. Speed and some of the other medications too have a physiological addiction and tolerance. The addiction part is what I spoke about. Tolerance is the fact that the more you use, the more you need. And so if your body gets used to taking a certain amount of that drug, it needs to take more to at least get the same effect. And so you're now getting into a much either more potent medication, more of the medication, and that's why lots of kids have ended up with heroin. And heroin is a very cheap drug, easy to find, easy to administer, and it's all over. And if you think that your middle schoolers have not had access to any of these drugs, I would seriously think twice. They're out there. They're out there, maybe not in their classrooms, but they will be out there in their next classrooms and classrooms after that. So I don't think that this is a thing about avoiding this topic. This is about talking about the topic, having conversations with family members, with their children. It's not too early to start to have that conversation. This is about honesty and openness and having a relationship between a mother and a daughter, a father and son, a father and a daughter, where they're having an open relationship where they can talk. Zero tolerance policies are good policies, but sometimes they don't work because kids don't have anywhere to turn to. And they go to their friends and the peer pressure and they end up using more. So I'd be happy to talk about, any of us, to talk about some of the substances that you're seeing that you may not have heard of. One number that I'm just going to share with you that astounds me, that last year there were 56 million opiate prescriptions written for the Medicare population. Now, Medicare is over the age of 65, except for chronic illness, except for emancipated pregnancy or things like that. So there's a small number of people under the age of 65 that fit into the Medicare criteria, but vastly it's over 65. Can you imagine 57 million prescriptions being written? So there's a lot of substance out there. There are a lot of substance in people's homes. People do not like to throw drugs away, even if they have no chance of needing them. They paid for them, they may someday need to use them again, and they just don't want to get rid of them. I would say empty out your cabinets. There are days that the city provides opportunities, or hospitals will, for you to bring medications in and dispose of them. Don't put them down the toilet. They're not good for the water supply. But I'm happy to talk about that more and the particular drugs.
Good evening, my name is Andrea. I graduated from Niguel Hills in 2002, and I haven't spent much time here since then. But it's interesting to be back, especially for this reason. When I was in 7th and 8th grade, I had no idea that I would end up a heroin addict by the time I was 18 years old and in prison at 21. You know, that was not in my life plans. Did not seem to be headed that direction. I came from a great family and I was involved. So I guess I'm here to represent that everyone needs to be aware of this. You know, it's not going to happen to my children. I did grow up in a family with a zero tolerance policy. And so when I finally did snap that one day, I didn't have anywhere to go. I didn't have a parent to confide in. I didn't have a parent that would even really help me make a plan because it was zero tolerance, you know. So this is a good age to start opening up this conversation with your kids, you know, the topic, slowly talking about solutions to it. If their friends are having a problem, make it something comfortable so that if and when, because it will come up eventually, you know, whether it's them or one of their friends or, you know, classmate, something somewhere around them in the next few years is probably going to happen where it would be nice to talk to a parent, someone that can give you advice and tell you what's really happening. You know, they want to be comfortable enough to be able to reach out. That wasn't something that my parents thought they needed for me. You know, we came from a really nice area and that wasn't a concern of theirs. And, you know, I want to commemorate all the students that are here tonight, that's, you know, this is not a comfortable thing or something that I'm sure you necessarily wanted to do, but you're a step ahead of your friends. Coming to something like this, especially with your parents, it's a big deal. So good job for doing that. And I'm also here to answer questions. If you guys have any geared towards covering them.